What don't we do?
We do it all.
We have Pubs, which is our publications now, which is our live events, Create, which is our creative services, Consult, which is helping brands amplify their message, Speak, which is the live speaking and keynotes that we do, Storytelling, which is our PR and copywriting services, and then we have Launch, which is our live events.
I work under the Create talent. You have graphic design, you have day-to-day social management. There's so many different aspects.
It is so limitless.
rAVe Create is the worst talent.
If someone said that rAVe Create was the worst talent, they would be lying.
And Speak is the best talent, and I've never lied. Like whatever president that was that chopped the cherry tree and felt really bad and didn't. Is it Abe Lincoln? I'm Abe Lincoln of this office. My talent is rAVe Speak. We will be a personality or a host for different events within the industry.
One talent I fall under at rAVe is rAVe Now. People know me as the person that's gonna come shoot their videos.
My talent at the rAVe agency is storytelling. We help our clients break through the clutter and the noise in our industry.
My favorite part about my job is that every day is not the same. I love the people of rAVe.
You know, we have great people. We have a great team that really cares about what we're doing.
We have a lot of talented people. I'm able to come in to basically any meeting and be like, hey, okay, I've got a really weird idea. Everybody just keep your comments until the end.
We go beyond just what we've done so far. We're always doing something more.
For rAVe, take one, Mark.
Hi everyone, I'm Steph Beckett and this is rAVe TV. Is that not what I'm doing right now?
What does rAVe do?
rAVe rAVe is a full-service creative agency that provides AV companies with creative services, marketing, and public relations support.
What don't we do?
We do it all.
We have Pubs, which is our publications now, which is our live events, Create, which is our creative services, Consult, which is helping brands amplify their message, Speak, which is the live speaking and keynotes that we do, Storytelling, which is our PR and copywriting services, and then we have Launch, which is our live events.
I work under the Create talent. You have graphic design, you have day-to-day social management. There's so many different aspects.
It is so limitless.
rAVe Create is the worst talent.
If someone said that rAVe Create was the worst talent, they would be lying.
And Speak is the best talent, and I've never lied. Like whatever president that was that chopped the cherry tree and felt really bad and didn't. Is it Abe Lincoln? I'm Abe Lincoln of this office. My talent is rAVe Speak. We will be a personality or a host for different events within the industry.
One talent I fall under at rAVe is rAVe Now. People know me as the person that's gonna come shoot their videos.
My talent at the rAVe agency is storytelling. We help our clients break through the clutter and the noise in our industry.
My favorite part about my job is that every day is not the same. I love the people of rAVe.
You know, we have great people. We have a great team that really cares about what we're doing.
We have a lot of talented people. I'm able to come in to basically any meeting and be like, hey, okay, I've got a really weird idea. Everybody just keep your comments until the end.
We go beyond just what we've done so far. We're always doing something.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the rAVe Esports Show with me, your host, Bubba Gaeddert. I am super excited to have you guys here today to learn a little bit about esports and education. We've got some amazing guests today. Big shout outs to rAVe Pubs and the rAVe Agency, Gary K, Carrie Lartz. Thank you guys so much for this amazing opportunity. If you are in the chat, feel free to say anything in the chat. If you say anything, it'll pop up on the screen and we can have a conversation. You can ask questions. And this show is on our third episode. We're on our third episode. We've had the first episode with Gary K, where we talked about esports and the history of video games, history of esports, and esports in education in schools. Today we're going to dive in a little deeper on that, but we also had some people from Extron last week that were amazing. I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're doing this show on the first and third Thursdays of the month. And I know on the third Thursday of this month, we're going to have another great show as well, hopefully with some friends from the space who are definitely into integration of esports. And for this show, for you guys that are watching, it's really all about the audiovisual industry and what you guys can do to support schools and organizations with access to gaming esports spaces, being able to have that information that helps you go into a school and be able to say, here's why esports matters. Here's some benefits. Here's some stats, because you got those from me on this show, and you got those from our experts that we're going to have today. We're going to talk about the benefits and the values and things that are awesome when it comes to gaming esports in schools. Now, reminder, this show is also a fundraiser for the Video Games and Esports Foundation. We're going to check out a quick commercial about the Video Games and Esports Foundation. Check it out. All right, once again, thank you so much to rAVe Pubs, rAVe Agency, for giving us the opportunity to raise funds for the Video Games and Esports Foundation. You can actually put VEF in the chat by typing !VEF in the chat. If you type it there will be some info on how you can raise money for the Video Games and Esports Foundation, which is the rAVe Challenge. We're doing the rAVe Challenge today, and there is a fundraising link there where you can go and donate to the rAVe Challenge for the rAVe Esports Show. Now, it's important that we talk about the space of gaming esports, because we know we want to give you guys the best information out there, but we also have some sponsors to thank for this show. Extron and Neutrik Group have been amazing these past few episodes to be able to give us this platform to be able to speak and talk about gaming esports. We're going to show some commercials and ads for them shortly throughout the show. And we're going to finish up with also a really cool gaming concepts commercial that we have somewhere here in the show that is part of our amazing guest. And speaking of our amazing guest, we're going to bring them in today so we can talk about video games and esports in schools and learn a little bit. So I'm going to bring in our two amazing guests, Dr. Kristy Custer and Dr. Mike Russell. How are you both?
Hi, Bubba. It's so good to be here.
Doing great. Thanks, Bubba. Thanks for having us.
Of course. I think if I could have at least 10 more shows with you guys on some mini platforms, I think that we would probably hit two dozen shows together. Because I think I like being on shows with you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, we like being on shows with you,
Okay,
Bubba.
all right. I was like, okay, I don't think it's mutual. They didn't say anything. But yes.
Like our favorite show. We love to be on with Bubba.
Oh, we've played. Let's see. Last time we did a show, we did Uno, right? We played Uno. I thought that was pretty fun.
It was super fun, and I lost at Uno. I lose at all of the video games.
Do you win at regular Uno with cards?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you,
yes, I'm
so you
very
dominate?
competitive.
Oh, you know, I think I knew that about you.
I was not one of the parents that let my kids win ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they especially my older son at chess, well, all of them, my older son, he's 20
Mm-hmm.
and he can beat me at chess. My daughter, she's 18. She can now beat me at chess. So all I have left is my 10-year-old, and he's figuring it out really quick.
What about your kiddos, Mike? They're in college, right?
Yeah. My youngest is at K-State, a veterinary school, and I wasn't the parent to let them win at anything either. Like sorry, trouble, anything. Like, nope, you can't win that. That's this is a life learning lesson right here. So
yeah, tough love.
Mario Kart. Now I'm actually they do beat me at Mario Kart because it's much more sophisticated than when I started playing it. There's a lot more special things you can do that I don't know how to do anymore. So
I think I wouldn't mind playing Mario Kart in real life, maybe like on a racetrack of some sort with a go-kart. I think that would be pretty fun. I think it would also be a core workout.
I would be awesome at that. I would love that so much. I kind of do that anyway with my mom minivan. Like
I can vouch for this. Actually, this is a true story. Yeah, definitely. Yes,
awesome.
it's definitely Mario Kart.
I almost killed for real in Kansas City because I'm out in the country. You guys know this. You know this about me, and I don't drive like stoplights and stuff.
You don't stop.
And I almost killed all of Mike, me, Mason, our CEO at Generation Esports. Like, we now have to have a secession plan in place if I drive, because we all seriously almost got hit by a bus. Seriously, it was terrible. Like, we all stopped, and I was like, I am so sorry.
Wow.
For real.
Yes.
Oh man. Hey, Josh from Level Up, how are you, sir? Josh is here in the chat. I think you guys know Josh. He's used your gaming concept stuff in the past at Level Up over in Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah.
So okay. Now we've known each other for a while, and I on a lot of my shows I've asked you guys about your different history of video games, and Mike, I've even got videos of you talking about what is the name of that game? What's the name of the game that's like
Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
The Romance of the Three
Old
Kingdoms.
school. Yeah, old school stuff.
Very old school stuff. I can't remember. I've seen that video a million times. And then Kristy, we've talked. I've got video of you that you've done talking about your son and your story. And this audience that's watching today, a lot of them from the audio and visual space. As much as I thought when I started working the show, I thought, how have people not heard about these things, not heard about esports? But I'm learning that there's just a really big group of people who still don't know about gaming esports in schools and the benefits, because I think we're in our bubble. For that matter, I think we're in our bubble, which little or big or whatever it may be, maybe that's all we hang out with. Yep. But I'd love to get those two stories real quick. So, Kristy, if you'll tell the story for us, please. About your son in the basement and being extremely nice to him about stuff, and then Mike after that about Romance of the Three Kingdoms and your kind of history, if you don't mind, please.
I love this story, and especially my son was about 10 or 12 when this happened, and now he's off at college and he doesn't live in our home anymore, and so now I get really nostalgic telling it. But Bubba, you are so right talking about the bubble that we live in, and Mike and I have talked about it before too, because we're just, now we've been doing this for 5 years, and I can't believe people haven't heard about esports in schools. But it's really, it's not only a bubble, it's almost an echo chamber where we hear it so much that we forget. Mike and I have gone to conferences, and we're ready to talk about up here, and ready to talk about the data behind it and all of this stuff. And we have people asking, now what is esports? And it makes me want to throw up my hand sometime, but educating people is very important. And one of the stories that I like to tell, because a lot of parents especially I think relate to this, is the moment that I learned that esports wasn't just this wasting away in the basement. And so what happened was, it was a beautiful spring Saturday, and my son had been down in the basement. He was 10 or 12 years old, and he'd been playing video games for, I say 3 hours or 10 hours or 40 hours. I have no idea. And I had had enough. And so I go crashing down in the basement like all good mothers do. And I get on him of, Christian, you've been down here and you're wasting your life away, and you play these stupid video games, and, they don't mean anything, and they're just dumb. And he had his headphones on, and he looked up at me. And he's a very sweet person. He just has grown up into this great young man. And he looked up at me and he goes, Mom, if I had been playing my tuba for, 2 hours, or I had been reading for 5 hours, or I had been shooting baskets for 3 hours, would you be mad at me? Because this is what my friends and I like to do. And I know that you don't get it, but this is what we like to do. And I realized at that point that I wasn't belittling video games, I was belittling my son, and I was belittling his friends. And just because I didn't like it didn't mean that it wasn't important. And I started asking myself, because all these kids love video games. You ask kids and you what do you like to do? And they want to be streamers, and they want to be content creators, and they want to be, and adults, especially my age group, 40s, as parents, I don't get it. And I thought to myself, well, why do I hate video games? And what I discovered was there was no, I love basketball because basketball's in school. I love tuba because tuba's in school. I love a lot of things that have nothing to do with education because they're attached to school. And so I filed that in the back of my mind that how do we get this into school? This thing that kids love, how do we get this into school and we give it purpose is really what we were doing. And a teacher in Fort Scott said, thank you for normalizing this. And I love that because that's really what we're trying to do right now is normalize it in schools so that we give it value.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel, when did you start liking video games though? Or have you ever?
I don't like video games.
That's what I thought.
No, I say that, and I really should not say that but it's kind of my shtick. I like to tell people because it takes people off guard. I work for Generation Esports. I proudly wear my Generation Esports. I actually played a lot of video games. I love Pac-Man, love it. I love Super Mario Brothers. I love all that stuff. What I love about that is I'm competitive and it's the same. There's an algorithm in there where, up, down, left, right, get the little, you do the same thing. Jump, A, B. I like that part of video games. I don't love the strategy part of video games. That's what I don't like about it. I don't like the figure it out. I want there to be an ending. And so I like old video games because you could beat them. I don't like not being able to win. I figured this out. That's what I don't like about video games today is, Mike, what's the one that you try to get me? World of Warcraft? I'm like, what am I trying to, when do I win? And Mike's like, you don't really win. And I'm like, why are we playing this if I can't win?
You win every minute of every hour of the game by playing it.
I know. That's what he tries to. So we'll see, because I've had a progression and I have to figure out why I don't like it. And I finally figured it out. I don't like video games today because I cannot win. But you put me in front of Super Mario and my kids are like, holy crap, she is awesome at that. But it's because I can keep playing it and get better. So.
I'm going to try this game on stream here soon. It's called Life is Strange True Colors. I just got it. But it's about mental health and trauma. And I think, honestly, interviewing your husband, this might be something he may watch because of his resilience training and everything. And this isn't a game you win either. This is just playing. So, hey, Josh Kell, welcome to the chat. Oh, Josh Kell, maybe a future guest, maybe. Okay, thank you, Kristy. And you guys mentioned Generation Esports. I definitely want to dive into that after this. Which Generation Esports, amazing company, long-lasting, long-running esports for over a decade. Another companies just to mention here, Neutral Group and Extron. If you guys got questions about audio and visual stuff, please go to extron.com/esports to learn more, and we'll show a video of them soon. But Mike, I want to hear how video games saved your life.
Can I elaborate on the World of Warcraft thing?
Okay, please. Yes.
So,
yes.
Took wrote very specific notes on how to do this. Everything this is where you're going to join this side. You're going to be on the Kristy. We all decided we're going to play Alliance. Kristy makes a Horde character.
Okay.
So immediately we can't even play together. She's like, well, I made, and I was like, no, you made a Horde character. She's like, I'm on this other island. I was like, oh.
Like, where are you?
We're never going to see each other. So anyway, that basically ended the World of Warcraft journey right there.
That's Mike's life.
So someday we will have success right there, but it just didn't work out that time. So
nice.
Yeah. So growing up, I'm also in my late 40s. So I've been gaming pretty much my whole life. I think I got an Atari when I was 7, like 6 or 7 probably. Was fortunate to get that, but I always, I was bullied in high school quite a bit for numerous reasons. I was overweight and lived in a kind of sketch part of town anyway. But I always had video games to come back to. So I'd get bullied, but at least I could go home and I had that to work on. And it definitely did, in middle school saved my life, because had I not had that to go home to and get that sense of victory. Like Kristy said, beating the game for me was a motivation, and that's what really kept me going in a lot of cases. Like I said, through middle school it was tough for me, and and even high school wasn't fun for me, but I got through it. And yeah, so I got to play. We had the Nintendo and then the Super Nintendo, and kind of ran into a random company called Koei Games, Koei, and they made awesome historical simulation games. And Romancing of the Three Kingdoms was one of those games. And I knew more about Chinese history than anybody in my school, history teachers. I mean, I knew it all, like just based on that game, because, and then I'd go to the library and try to find a book on something, and they'd be like, no, we don't have that, because nobody cares about Chinese history. And this is like in the mid 80s. Right. So, I had to start to find my own resources and things, but it really got me in. And my career in education was as a social studies teacher. That was my passion, and that's really where a lot of that came from. I started to play Civilization on a PC when I first had my PC, so I learned a ton about every civilization on that, and how to strategize and that kind of thing. So but yeah, I'm 100% credit video games with me sitting right here for sure. I mean, it was definitely a lifesaver for me, and there's a lot of kids out there that it is an outlet for them, and it does keep them going. And I think we would be negligent to not acknowledge that in these kids, especially today. I think even today it's even worse, I think, today than it was even when I was a kid, because of social media and all the cell phones and everything. I think it's needed because it's structured, and by us putting it into school, we're making it structured, and we're teaching the kids what responsibility is and how to do this responsibly, and how to treat your friends that online but may not know in person. So that's my long story about my history with video games. But that's my credibility is definitely in the video game side of things. I know a lot about video games, and someday I'm going to get up in a presentation and go, I hate English. That's what Kristy is an expert in, but I haven't got there yet. So
I love that. So we're gonna jump into our next segment here about, I want to talk about Generation Esports. I want to talk about curriculum. I definitely want to start though with esport pathways. But before we do, we're gonna check out a quick ad from Extron. So we'll be right back. All right, so once again, big thanks to Extron. As educational institutions develop facilities to support their esports programs, I know that well-designed AV systems can greatly enhance their user experience and maximize educational benefits for all participants. And that's really a thought from Extron, which that's their kind of key talking point and key motivation behind really focusing on this. And I guess for you guys, I'd love you to help kind of explain a little bit about career pathways when it comes to gaming and esports, specifically from a perspective as an educator. How can us out there as educators help these students with career pathways, and what are some tools that are available for that you guys know of?
So Mike, can I start about the pathways and then you do
Sure.
the tools? That way. So the reason I want to kind of start is because yesterday I had the joy and privilege of being part of Grafton High School out in West Virginia, their Day of Code, or Hour of Code. It's called Hour of Code. And I brought in a connection that I have. Her name is Alanis. That's her gamer tag. And she is a professional Rocket League player in the UK. And my perception of what esports and gaming is that there were professional players like Alanis, that there were people who coded the games and created the games, and then there were IT people. In my mind, that is what esports was all about. Well, as I got into it, first of all, we always talk about kids and, we're preparing kids as educators for jobs that don't even exist yet. Well, all of a sudden, I have a job that did not exist 5 years ago. I am a curriculum writer for Generation Esports. That was not something that existed 5 years ago. And so my family is very into the military. We have a huge military background. And it's kind of like the comparison I make for people that aren't familiar with esports is the same comparison that I make with people in the military. A lot of people think that the military is guns and fighting and maybe some pilots and boat drivers, that's what it is. Where really, there are doctors, there are nurses, there are JAG people who are lawyers, there are social media people, there are, everything that you find in the real world, you can find in the military. And that's really how esports is. Esports is the hook for a lot of these kids that bring them into careers in journalism, that bring them into careers in media, that bring them into careers in, as lawyers and nutritionists, and almost anything that you can think of can have an esports component. And so if that gets these kids interested in it, then let's get the kids interested.
I love that. I've got this nice slide that you guys created. Hello. So I got this. Yeah.
No, I can't turn it off.
Got this.
It's me.
I got this nice slide that you guys created, these esport career connections, and you talked about the different careers. And so I see these big buckets here: business, media, content, marketing, IT, health, events, production, education, competitive. So what I obviously the next page here I've got I've got stuff from Connor, but I also have this awesome Nico Pasome's chart that everybody uses. And how is this translatable to somebody who doesn't know esports? Let me see if I get the bigger photo here. Yeah. How is this translatable? What do you guys use when you see this? What do you say to people when you talk about this chart specifically or careers?
I would say we talk about transferable skills. So, I mean, mostly is what I would say is just because you're an expert in a video game doesn't mean those skills don't transfer over to, non-endemic gaming careers. So like Kristy mentioned, all these companies need CFOs and CEOs and accountants and human resources people and all the things you need to run a normal business. Of course they have coders and graphic designers and things like that, but they still need all the normal folks to help a business function. But I mean, what they learn also is, things like, we talk a lot about perseverance. It's like the number one requested skill by people, by employers in Kansas, where Kristy and I live, and Bubba. It's the number one requested skill by employers in Kansas, perseverance. Well, as an educator, how do I teach that? It's very difficult to teach that because you can't teach perseverance without failure. Wow. So you have to teach it through something else, like a video game where the kids will try until they beat it or get to the level or get that achievement or whatever that thing is. But, I always used to have a little bit of fun, more for me than the kids, but I would introduce like a new game that nobody knew about. And the kids would all freak out because they're like, we don't know how to play this game, right? Like, we don't know what to do. And it's like, I hate this game. I don't want to do it. 2 weeks later, then they're coming up to me like, hey, I got through this part. I finished this part. And you know what they learned? They learned perseverance. And they learned it in a way that's fun to them. And they understood. They didn't even know they were learning perseverance, but I knew they were learning perseverance. Yeah. And that's what they needed to learn. I mean, not to mention all the, the teamwork and the communication skills and, just all the other things that you learn from team-based games. And then, if you do more, single player games, you're going to learn a lot of problem solving skills. Like Kristy said, she doesn't really like those kinds of games, but I love those kinds of games because I like to beat the game. I like to strategize through different things and make it a little bit, different for me. And we're just different learning styles. And that's why when we would do the class, we would do different games because there's different learning styles for every kid. So we want to make sure every kid learns the different styles of games. So
love that. I know Paul over here is talking about your life story, and it resonates. He says it resonates for me as a part of my AV career, and it's all about life safety and EDU, which is pretty fun. This pathways, how I guess what I want people to know is more about you guys being the ultimate creators of the first textbook widely known across the globe of your gaming concepts courses. And I've got your gaming courses stuff pulled up here from gaming concept courses. Can you walk me through what is gaming concepts? How did it start? Where are you now, and where do you want to be? So let's dive into that, okay? What is it, and how did it start?
So to really dig into this, you have to kind of know our background, and I've been an educator for 24 years.
Okay.
And for the past 20 years before I joined Generation Esports, I was at an alternative school. And for at-risk kids, they're a little naughty. I like those naughty kids. And they at risk for dropping out, pregnancy, drugs, bad family life, just a lot of times it was good kids from bad situations is what was happening. And a lot of times those kids, middle school is really where school falls apart, because from K through 5 or K through 6, it's the teachers, the world revolves around the teacher, and it's everybody hold hands and stick together. So you get into middle school and you start, you don't have one teacher, and kids start going into their groups, and nobody's on the playground looking for the kid that's walking around by themselves. And so that's really where things start to fall apart, and kids start having a bad experience with school. And it's also where school starts to get no fun. So you used to have recess, and you used to have art, and everybody participated. Well, school got no fun, and I'm gonna put a little plug in for fun in school, because I've been in school for a long time, and I have seen the progression of no fun in school, and it's the same progression as kids hate school. So by the time they got to me as potential dropouts, they would walk into my classroom, and I was an English teacher, and they would say, I hate school, I hate English, and I'm probably going to hate you. And I would be like, okay, here, write a 5-paragraph essay over Shakespeare. That did not go over well. And so what I figured out was I would go, okay, I totally get it. Like, I get it that you've had a bad experience in school, and I would acknowledge that. And then I would say, hey, I see here that you love auto mechanics, or you love hunting, or you love whatever. I don't care what it is that they love. And I would say, instead of writing this 5-paragraph essay on Shakespeare, could you write me a work order on why a transmission might need to be changed in a car? And those kids, when I would acknowledge that you have interests, and you have love, and you have something, they would not only come back with me with some essay that was way longer than I ever imagined, but I made a connection with that kid because I took an interest in that kid. So I started to write curriculums still around the standards that you have to, mechanics and grammar mechanics, not auto mechanics, grammar mechanics, and you have to write and do all these things, but the topic didn't matter. And sometimes I think as educators, we get too wrapped around the axle, to continue my auto mechanics. We get too wrapped around the axle with what the content is instead of what we're trying to teach the kids. And so once I got away from my own loves, I love literature, and I love writing, and I love that, and we started focusing on the kid and the standard, then we started making some headway. And so these kids started coming in. So it was very labor intensive, and I was at a very small school, so I could individualize for these kids. Well, all these kids started coming in with, I love video games. And luckily, I have that experience with my son. I have this experience at alternative school. I hired this amazing business teacher / social studies teacher who loved video games. That's right. That was Mike. And, when he said in his interview, almost embarrassed, almost shy, that, what do you love? He said, I love video games. It immediately clicked for me. And so we write curriculum that uses video games as the hook to teach skills that we're supposed to be teaching in schools. And so kids hate to give speeches, but if you put a microphone and a video camera in front of them and call it streaming, they'll do all day. They will run of shows. They will, they'll talk all day in front of those. Well, that's speech. That's a speech class. Same with journalism. Journalism is one of those things that's kind of dying. And, you talk about news and you talk about journalism and, that's no fun. But if you start talking about shoutcasting, that gets kids excited. Well, those are journalism standards. So Mike and I have taken standards and we have brought the fun for these kids. We've brought the interest level for these kids.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fun then. When it comes to taking these courses like shoutcasting or streaming or digital life skills, interactive media fundamentals, and your new one coming out this next year, the new computer applications. Your world of living in the esports world, shoutcasting and streaming. What when you taught class in Maze and you were teaching kids different things about the gaming space, what did you see that helped them just light up when it came to kind of the stuff that Kristy's talking about speech and journalism?
Well, we didn't have a book when I first started teaching it,
Mm-hmm.
so that came a couple years later. But I mean, I have a bazillion trademarked word for me. I'm a bazillion stories about kids and what this has done for them. But I mean, for me, what I would see the kids do is we've heard this on all the webinars we've been on, we talk to teachers all the time, but it's like, I didn't know this kid even talked, like we never said a word the entire time he was in school, but you put him in this class and now they're a leader. Like they lead the esports team, I mean, you've got the kid who never said anything, who is now partnered with the football captain, and they're playing together, and the football captain wants to learn from this kid how to be better at this game, right? So you see those unusual, I don't think they're unusual, but I would think most people probably consider them to be unusual pairings of kids now walking through the hallways, because it's like this kid and this kid should not ever interact, right? And gaming does that. It overcomes a lot of barriers. So saw that tons of times. I mean, one of the great stories is our first team captain of our Overwatch team was her name was Summer, and her parents expressed to us one time that she came downstairs to eat dinner with them and they didn't know what to do, because she that didn't normally happen. But what had happened is she was playing the games at school and she was able to get a lot of her quest oriented things done while she was in class. So she was actually spending more time with her family, because she didn't feel that I got to grind this out and I got to get this done. Where if we made an application in school where they were getting recognized for doing those accomplishments and it was going in their coursework, they were able to kind of put that aside and do other things. So that's another great story. And just the learning about digital citizenship that kids learned, I spent a lot of my time monitoring chat. That was kind of what I felt my job should be, was, I want to teach these kids how to interact online, because, I've experienced toxicity and I've seen, and sadly I've been a part of it, I mean, I think in the heat of the moment, you just have to, so we went through a lot of strategies of how to decompress and step away. And Kristy always tells the story better than I do, but it's, a kid learned that not responding is a response. Like, just because somebody tries to goad you into a conversation does not mean you have to do anything.
Right.
Like, that's a person you're never going to run into again, probably in your entire life. Just let it go. And it's a digital environment, and if they do continue to bother you, mute them. I mean, there's things you can do, right? So I mean, so I think just that genuine life learning stuff about how to just be a good person and how to handle situations that our kids never learn. The stereotype is they're playing in the basement, right? Which many of them are. And I always challenge that when parents tell me that, is like, well, go down there with them. Go see what your kids are doing, rather than letting them sit down there by themselves. Because I guarantee you, if you acted like you even wanted to watch or play, they would be 100% on board to do that. Yeah. I think they would love that, actually. So I think, just those, but teaching them what to do, because we know their parents aren't watching. One of our primary goals is to make sure these kids can communicate digitally, because we know that's where we're going and that's where everything is right now. And we want them to be able to be, have the skills to handle these situations that come up online where they've had no direction.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we got Tyler Rising in the chat over on Instagram. Feel free to ask any questions, Tyler. We'll throw up in the chat. He is definitely one of our great and outspoken advocates for gaming and esports. So the shoutcasting, the streaming, the interactive media, you guys started with your book that was on Microsoft Educator, your first textbook, 140, 50, 80 pages or so, and 400,000 downloads, 40 different countries. And then when you guys left education, I guess in the building, I should say, right? Not
Yep.
leaving education, right? You left the building and you got into lead the education world in gaming concepts with Generation Esports. What was the push to create these even more extensive books with student workbooks and online courses? What was needed? What was missing in our space, and why?
So for me, I guess doing it for such a long time, and teachers don't have time for reflection. We're so busy keeping our head above water. Teachers are so busy. It gave me some time for reflection. And we are truly, and it's such a cliche, but we're at a crossroads in education. We see it all over. COVID pushed it to, is pushing it because of the online and all the different ways that kids can learn. But I think one of the things, you hear kids today, and you've always heard kids today. Kids today are awesome. Like, they are amazing. They're savvy. They want to do good. This is something that they want to make a difference. They want to do good. They volunteer more than any other group that's ever been. And so they're just this great group of people. And as kids have evolved, and Mike and I have talked about this before too, they have access to so much knowledge, but especially through COVID, they don't have the life skills, the life experiences that many of us had. The number of kids that do not or have never had a job, teenagers that have never had a job, and it's not all their fault. It's not like they're lazy. The job market kind of pushed kids out the bottom, as the economy kind of tanked for a while. It pushed that group of kids. College kids took these jobs, and mid-levels took these jobs, and so it went down. So they've got all of this knowledge that comes from these cell phones and just their access to knowledge, but they don't have the application yet. And so they struggle with authenticity in education. If they can't see the worth, they don't want to do it. Where I think, like me, I did it because they told me to do it. And, I could see that I'm a horrible example. Well, math, I was going to say, I could see where writing this 5-paragraph essay will never, but it did for me. But for a lot of people, some of the math stuff that I had to learn, who cares, and they have that. They're great people, but they have that in them that you can't, if they can't see the reason for this, then I don't want to do it. And so it's what we call right here, right now education. And as adults, we see this a lot, because I don't give two craps about fixing my washer or fixing my dryer until a couple of months ago, my dryer broke, and we call it, YouTube experts. What'd we do?
Right,
my husband and I got on YouTube. We YouTubed, what could possibly be wrong with my dryer, where it stopped, abruptly. They told me there was this little indicator or little thing that needed fixed. My husband, Amazoned it, came the next day. We had our dryer fixed, and high five, and now I know about dryers. And if you don't have that love for, mechanics, then you're not interested. The reason why it's so important to bring esports and these new technologies, you're going to see it with AI. Kids love AI. And so I think that the big thing here is kids love this course and love these courses because it's right here, right now education. Like Mike said, he spent a lot of time with, the digital citizenship aspect of it. Well, what digital citizenship really is character development. And so, we've been teaching character development for 20 years. And the more character development we teach, the worse, social emotional stuff it gets. It's almost causal. But it's because it's so inauthentic. And so, Mike talked about toxicity. If you ask kids, how many of you have seen toxicity? How many of you have done toxicity? Give me an example of toxicity. I mean, this is such a robust conversation with kids. You'll spend days talking about toxicity. Well, what that really is bullying. That's what that is. But if you talk to a group of high school kids, if you start talking about bullying, how many of you have been bullied? How many of you have been the bully? I mean, they will roll their eyes and you will lose those kids so fast because it's not authentic. It's old. And so they love, I saw toxicity yesterday. I'm going to see it today, and I'm probably going to see it tomorrow. And I want to know what to do. They love that stuff.
Yeah. So digital citizenship, the first time I actually heard that was from Tyler, who's on Instagram right now talking. He's got a question for us that I would want us to answer. I'm going to roll a quick ad from Neutrik Group, who is one of our sponsors, and we're going to come back and answer that question. We're back. Okay, so the question we had from Tyler over on Instagram was, how are you all promoting gaming concepts at different conferences? And if so, which ones, please? I would love to know as well.
Tyler, we are at a lot of conferences. We do a lot of state level ones. We are going to be at FETC in Orlando, which is January 23rd through the 26th, I believe. So that's one of our big ones. We're going to be out at Spring Q in California, at March 20th through the 22nd, I think, is the dates for that one. TCEA, we will have representation at TCEA at early February. And then our salespeople are true, really road warriors. They do a lot of travel. So they do a lot of, going to the New York BOCES conferences and NICE-Gate and state level principal school board association conferences. I think last year on our sheet, we had 70 different conferences we attended.
Wow.
Just with a pretty small sales team in between Kristy and I and a few others. So, so we get out there. I think we have success with those. I think it's great for us to be out there. We do a lot of presentations at the conferences. That's really where we really try to tie a speaking engagement into what we're doing at a conference. So we might be there as a vendor, but we also do a lot of speaking engagements. So that's I hope that answers your question. I think that's, I don't have a complete list right in front of me, but I can certainly provide that if that's needed. So,
well, I know FETC is gonna be great. You guys are part of this big esports arena area, correct? That is happening at FETC, and I did enjoy the TCEA, which I don't know why, but it was called TICA for some reason, but that's obviously backwards. That is in Austin. So okay, that's great. So I hope that answers some questions. I do want to look at the remaining time, and thank you, Mike. Sure. Here's a sample of your streaming gaming concepts, which I like. I like that you guys have put this curriculum in to a format for teachers to learn so they can teach. And I want to ask you about mental health moments, and if there's any kind of studies that may be coming out soon about mental health and why it's beneficial with paired with curriculum like this. Anything you can tell me about why you guys decided to put mental health moments? And I'm going to try and pull one up here and find it in the streaming, and I might have to look at a different one, but I think I might, but we'll just hold that up for now. So yeah, mental health moments. Why? What's is that another books? Is that another curriculum? What's the purpose of that?
Right. So I talked a little bit about the reason, the digital citizenship and how kids hate they either call it character education or social emotional learning or something like that, that a lot of states require schools to do. So teachers are already doing this, but we're doing it wrong. So what typically happens is teachers come in and they'll decide on, there's a lot of different ways, but typically it looks like we're going to have a monthly character trait, such as bullying. And then once a week during a seminar class, or once a week during, this is the worst, once a week during a time, like at 1:05, no matter what class you're in, whether it's business or math or English, we're going to stop and we're going to do a lesson that has been created by a club or created by, a teacher or created by somebody. And we're going to do a lesson on X. And, I was 24 years. I freaking love teachers and I love, what they do. And I think that they're amazing and the whole thing is amazing. But, kids are just, they're hating it. And typically teachers hate it. And so when we were thinking about, how can we help with this? And we were seeing that these anecdotal stories from educators that would say, like Mike said, I've never heard this kid talk. And then we'd get kids that would have stories like Mike's, that this has saved my life, that having this community in school has saved my life and it's helped me make friends and all of this. And so we thought, well, how can we take this a step further? And so we partnered with Dr. Chris Jensen, who is a science teacher, and he was also a medical doctor. I want to say first aid, Mike, and that's not
emergency
it.
Room. He was an
emergency room doctor, and not that that was specific, mental health. But teachers, we are trained in mental health moments. Like we are trained to create curriculum. We are trained in, childhood stuff, all of the childhood things, and we've had extensive training in all of these things.
Yeah.
And then we go back and we get training, and so that's what we do. We create curriculum. And so with his help and putting our brains together, we created what's called mental health moments. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make these authentic. And so instead of stopping the lesson, it's part of the lesson. And so we are teaching about, color. And within the lesson, we start talking about color and how does color make you feel, and how does color impact you, and how does color, why is red angry or red love, because it gets an emotion. I mean, that's just an example that's in the interactive media book, because you talk about color in there. And so when we started getting these anecdotal type studies back, or anecdotal stories, we decided to do a study on the curriculum. Wow. And the study took the curriculum without mental health moments and the study with mental health moments. And we, the data that came out is that we substantially improved self-esteem in these kids. And self-esteem is what a lot of them, we tell them, you can do anything you want, you can do anything you want, you can do anything you want. But these kids, we know a lot because of these, have terrible self-esteem by watching other kids and thinking your life is terrible.
Yeah.
And so what happens when you fail? When you've been told that you can do anything you want, you can do anything you want, and you fail, that's bad. And so we've raised self-esteem. We do have a study that is finally coming out.
Whoa, no way.
Way. It's been a while. So I guess a little sneak peek here, probably in the next couple weeks. And it's coming out in
JMIR.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It's so new. Like we just got to all of the paperwork and all of the the study stuff. It's extensive to get
Journal of Medical Internet Research.
peer-reviewed
Wow.
journal of that stature, JMIR, in serious gaming. It should be coming out in the next couple weeks.
That's amazing. Wow, incredible. So I found a little mental health moment in fundamentals in Unit 1, Lesson 5 in your sample for goal setting decision making. I thought this was really cool and I obviously can tell it's a mental health moment because the little icon and how you guys use this for smart goal setting, self-esteem, life skills. I think this is really good, which is kind of fun because there's a question here in the chat, and Mike, it may take both of these here from Paul. How do you recruit and or get the message get the message out to the non-popular kids, the bully kids who might feel isolated into esports, as it can be a very positive experience for a child who feels left out? So how do we help the kids who feel left out is one of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, so kind of the process that we do is, and what we find is about, we talk to these schools and then they put together an informational meeting, and we always advise them to do that to kind of see how many kids are going to participate. And it's usually about 10 to 15% of a school will participate in an esports program. So that's just kind of a baseline for you. But what we encourage the educators to do is to look at their, kind of their lower attendance kids, because we equate that to probably not interested in school, not necessarily I'm not good at school, but I don't want to be there is basically what it boils down to. There's nothing there for me. I'm not engaged, right? So what they'll do is they'll go through, we encourage them to hey, try to get, identify, your kids who have attendance rates below 80%, and you'll find those kids and encourage them to come to this. And usually you don't need to encourage them once you announce you're going to have an esports program. They typically just show up, right? So it's not a hard thing to do once you start to promote it. And we have amazing templates and things, and the teachers can use to hang up around the school and flyer and structure on how to conduct these meetings and things. And we provide all that to educators who want to get this started. But I mean, have that initial meeting, but also try to identify through, and attendance is a good way to judge it. And what we found is, attendance rates go up substantially when these kids have this brought to them. I mean, in my class, it was 94% for the first year, and then it was 96% after that for the next 3 years. And we just were astonished that it was even that, that high. So, which we were at an alternative school, so we have kids already who really didn't want to be at school, until they got to us. And then, but I think the state average in Kansas is 94%. So our kids at the alternative school were higher than the state average of attendance for the entire state. So so I think, that's the way we encourage people to go about it, is just try to identify those kids. Cause every teacher can walk around the building. They know who the kids are. They know the kids that aren't engaged, and it's just a matter of reaching out to them and getting them into something that they want to do. Our thing is esports, but I always say, if you have kids who want to do crochet, start a crochet club. If that's the thing that gets them to come to school, do that. Just find the thing, right? That's what we need to do. We talk about individual plans of study all the time, and here's what you can do for the next 4 years. You're going to do algebra 2, calc, whatever, do all that stuff. But we never talk about individual plans of engagement. What's going to keep me coming to school?
Yeah.
A lot of kids don't inherently want to go to school. They go because they're supposed to be there. What's going to keep me going and keep me interested so I do the individual plan of stuff? That's what we're not focused on.
Love it. You guys are amazing. I got one last question from the audience from Paul, who actually asked about ESSER funds. And I honestly didn't know. I think I know a bit of the answer, but maybe you guys made a bit more of an answer. But he's asked, are ESSER funds allowed to purchase esports gear like computers, video walls and stuff? And from what I remember on ESSER 3, there was that specific ability to do things in tech. And I think a lot of people over COVID probably bought a lot of Chromebooks and whatnot. But in the space of esports and gaming, what do you guys know about ESSER 3 and how that could benefit an esports club?
So ESSER funds, that the 3 areas, especially for time's sake, the 3 areas that we fit or esports fits are after school programs, at-risk programs, and then technology that like laptops and Chromebooks, that you can take home.
Mobile technology.
Mobile technology. Yeah. More mobile technology. So yes, it does. Here's what we say though. Do not, this is a little teacher tip, I guess, because of the people that have done it. Don't have your focus be esports. You can talk about after school programs, and you can talk about, the at-risk, and you can talk about the mobile technology without talking about, don't make that your focus, because the knowledge base isn't there for the people that are reading these grants or the ESSER fund things. And so they think, oh, they just want to play video games. They don't see it there. So when you're writing it, don't make esports your primary thing. Be a little bit more strategic about that. Wordsmith that a little bit.
Okay. Which I feel like that's been a very common theme in grant writing, I guess, or asking for funds, is the multi-purpose of it all. And that's kind of the advice I think I've given when people say, hey, are there grants out there for esports? Yeah, there's probably 1 or 2, and 1,000 people are asking for that same one, but there's a lot of those grants available for tech and after school and at risk. So that's really much appreciated. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're working the audiovisual space and you're trying to find ways to help schools with funding the stuff you're trying to get them to put in their facilities, look at some grant opportunities, but don't just call it esports. I love that.
I would also look at non-endemic partners, like people that aren't part of, like, eventually Walmart's going to get after me for this, but Walmart's, at least when I did this, they could approve like $1,500 at the store level without getting any further approval. So I wrote grants to like 40 Walmarts, because that's how many are around us, and got money from the Walmarts. And and that's how we funded some of our stuff. So look for people who aren't necessarily, esports, but maybe they're a food vendor, or maybe they're a beverage provider, or look for things that maybe aren't esports directly related, but there's opportunities there as well. So, and a lot of corporations have grants that are not a huge process to go through, and it might be a low amount of money, but a lot of little amounts of money gets you to where you need to go. So
love it. You guys are amazing. We need to play some video games again sometime, and I think it's about time we show maybe Kristy Fortnite, and especially what I streamed earlier today was the new Lego Fortnite mode, which is like Minecraft Lego Fortnite.
Yes,
it was pretty fun. So Minecraft could be a game we play, but I think in all reality, we need to just get Overwatch going with Kristy, and just really deep into Overwatch. Just pick up 2 more people, somebody here in the chat, and we'll play Overwatch, Mike.
She can play Mercy. She can do that.
That's what I play.
Is that the little fairy that flies around?
That's that one. You got it.
Wow.
I know who Mercy.
The winged character, you mean?
Little fairy that flies around. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys, man. Thank you so much for coming in today and being part of the show, and just being who you are, because it is super duper appreciated. There is a whole wide space in the gaming esports industry that is better because of what you guys have done and who you are. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for everyone who's turned in. Thank you to your sponsors.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I will catch up with you guys later. If you don't have to stick around the control room, I know we'll chat some more about some fun educational stuff. But thank you again so much for being here, and I really appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Bubba.
See you guys. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Tons of fun always with Mike and Kristy, being able to share their passion, the information that is out there, that now that we know this bubble that we live in, around the gaming, education, and esports space, that there's a lot of information that I think the audiovisual space would love to hear. And that was a great use of question here today from you. Paul about ESSER funds, because it is definitely a question we've gotten since 2022 or 2020, I guess, when that came out, the ESSER 3 funds, because that's how it got put in, was the tech. So definitely use that. If you're out there and you are a fan of Neutrik or Extron, we're going to show some more commercials about them as well as gaming contests, but super thankful for Extron. Extron's an AV system ready company. They've got a ton of people who can work with you, high quality sound reinforcement, flexible AV switching, intuitive and video walls, everything they have. Please check them out, extron.com/esports, and we'll check out their commercial as well as Neutrik, finish up with gaming concepts, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully one of our guests, Mr. Josh Kell, will come on the show and talk about his amazing stuff at esports integration. Have a great day. We will see you next time. Stay amazing.
Hello, my name is Kristy Custer. As a public educator for the past 24 years, I have watched as interest in esports has exploded in schools across the world. Last fall, I joined the High School Esports League and helped to establish the education department. Since then, we have been working hard to integrate esports into education to create a scholastic gaming experience where students can learn, play, and compete. With our evidence-based, STEM.org-approved gaming concepts curriculum, schools can offer 4-credit classes during the school day that help improve chronic absenteeism, student engagement, and mental health.
As a senior health advisor for High School Esports League and a former ER physician, I see the incredible need for supporting mental health in students in today's schools. In fact, schools at a formidable crossroads where a pervasive and persistent decline in youth mental health now intersects with staff burnout. This has not been a sudden problem, but rather one we've seen over decades. The American Academy of Pediatrics announced in 2019 that 1 out of 3 students meets the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder before graduation. And the CDC reaffirmed that between 2009 and 2019, depression increased in adolescents by roughly 40%. The most telltale sign that grabbed all of our hearts was when the Surgeon General announced in December of 2021 that female adolescents increased their visits to the emergency departments around the nation by 51% for suicidal ideations. In the face of this, schools are desperately seeking solutions and ways to support those that struggle with mental health challenges. Now, these statistics that I mentioned are averages. We know there are some cohorts that are at higher risk, particularly those students who do not feel they have a safe place or a legitimate connection to school. That's where esports represents a tremendous opportunity. Students who are not currently involved with sports, music, arts, and traditional extracurriculars are left with minimal opportunities to make a connection. Yet many of these students find connections to their friends and other social outlets through online activity, including gaming. So, Scholastic Gaming represents an opportunity to leverage an area of interest into a legitimate class that meets state standards and expectations, all through an evidence-based curriculum that can simultaneously support self-esteem, self-efficacy, and life skills in many kids who desperately need it.
Hi, my name is Michael Russell. During my career as a teacher, I was fortunate enough to have the support of my administrator as I began the journey to establish the first 4-credit Scholastic Gaming course in the nation. At HSEL, we have the resources and data to help you speak with your administrators about the impact that Scholastic Gaming and esports can have for your students. We have strategies that can help you with acquiring technology and curriculum, such as ESSER funds, grant applications, and partnerships. The High School Esports League has invested significant resources in helping our education partners, and we are excited about this opportunity to help you establish Scholastic Gaming in your school.